Hi, everyone. Okay, so Rubinstein Street. Well, for those who remember me from Hago times, I'm sure you remember it as just the bar street, and well, it is the street full of bars named after Anton Rubinstein, the prominent musician, composer, and also founder of the conservatoire in St. Petersburg. I will talk about him also a little bit more. Some of the landmarks, we have already seen quite a bunch of them, and the Rubinstein Street starts by the Nevsky Avenue, right, and ends with this building and the five angle square. That's the building. And as today, I will be doing another tour of the Dostoevsky neighborhood. Actually, I will be doing the tour of the street that starts actually from this beautiful house that was built by, that belonged to Yoffe House, we call it. So we'll talk about that. And that's the Nevsky Avenue. Um, I think this is the avenue that we have walked multiple times, but I just realized there are still so many things that I never really had time to talk to you about. So we will definitely at some point do more in-depth tours of the avenue. Anyway, let me just um, make sure. Yeah. Okay. So that's just in case. That's the Nevsky Avenue, the very beginning of it, and this is where we have walked together. This is how it starts, and the minute you turn from this, well, it's not really the busiest time when Oleg filmed it, but you realize it gets very loud, very crowded during the rush hours. But the minute you turn to Rubinstein Street, it feels very different. During the day, it's very quiet, but in at night, well, when the night falls, it gets really loud because of all the bars and all the restaurants and eateries of all sorts that we have there. So far, we have walked up until this area. There is like a small like a food truck station, but there used to be a house that looked like that, just like a wooden barracks. And it's hard to believe, but half of the buildings in mid-19th century, even 1850s, looked like that in this street. But with the arrival of the second half of the 19th century, the development, the construction started at such a breakneck speed that eventually we got what we got. That's it. But yes, it's hard to imagine that it's now one of the most expensive streets in the area to live in, but also you probably wouldn't want to live there because it does get loud because of all the bars and the people who live in this area, they're not really happy. There have been some lawsuits. Some bars indeed closed because of the constant complaints and um, orders from the police and everything. So it's, yeah, it's I would say a bit challenging indeed. But there are also a couple of avenues, lanes, not the avenue, I mean lanes uh, that we have as we walk along the Rubinstein Street. And for example, this lane used to have even more bars than the Rubinstein Street back at the turn of the 20th century. And it was actually one of the biggest, longest, and the biggest bar streets, kind of a tavern street back in the early 20th century. But yeah, now it's Rubenstein, and then remember this wooden barrack that we saw in the photo, and then look at that. So this the face of the street, the look of the street was changed significantly with a lot of investment, with a lot of private entities, uh, purchasing land and purchasing land and turning it into residential apartments. This is exactly the house we stopped last time, and it's just a beautiful residential building, right? And it has a lot of stories. But first and foremost, I would like to talk about this house as a home to Sergei Dovlatov. his name may not ring a bell to the Western audience, but if you, let's say, have Russian roots or Russian friends and you live in the West, you may have heard of Sergei Dovlatov. He was one of the biggest dissident writers of the 20th century. He immigrated actually to the States and he died and he is buried in the States. That's his grave, by the way. And so he died just 1 year before the Soviet Union collapsed. And yes, he was a Jew. His mother was Jewish. And well, he was not welcome in the country for so many reasons. That's just, but he became incredibly popular when he left already while he lived in the States. And he wrote a lot of, I would say, fundamental works about Russia, about Russian people and a Russian mindset and everything. Nothing chauvinistic or anything, nothing like that. No, no, no. But just because he was terribly, terribly homesick. And that homesickness eventually resulted in a very early disease that he had, and he passed away quite young. Yeah, that's just I can feel I really I can relate. Homesickness can be a horrible thing. It's a very hard feeling. Yes, and the monument is, by the way, relatively new, and he stands in the doorway, apartment 34. That's because he lived in that house. But since I am currently staying in Tbilisi, capital of Georgia, I could not but show you this house, right? This is the house where his grandparents lived. So Tbilisi happened to be the motherland of mother to Sergei Dovlatov, and he stayed in that house for many summers while he was just a kid. But so we have just seen this beautiful house, right, with a corridor, right? So the inner courtyard, it looks opulent, very expensive, very European. But the moment you find yourself in the backyard, in the maze of the connecting yards, like the backyards that St. Petersburg is so famous or infamous for. I'm not even sure which is best. It really strikes you. The difference is just mind-boggling, and I know that. And yes, that's exactly how it looks, and it's been always like that. So the facade is, you judge the book by its cover. You know that already. Many of you even walked with me through these mazes on my tours, and it's amazing that we actually had very good connectivity in most of those courtyards. Sometimes it got so dark in this courtyard that I had to take a torch. I had to take a flashlight with me, not the torch, but the flashlight with me, at least from my phone, or I've even had to get a bigger one because there was not enough light for the camera. And yes, it does look like a maze. So this is the famous well-shaped courtyards that St. Petersburg is so infamous for. So the connecting yards, which basically form a maze, and you can find yourself in the middle of the next street, like a couple of blocks away, if you just enter for one archway and leave through another. And if you don't know your way around, you may get lost. Like, you're not going to be lost for good, but you're going to really waste a lot of time trying to find your way through. But nevertheless, and of course, in this neighborhood, there just had to be a bar because it's a bar street, but it's also, there had to be, well, there had to be something related to Dovlatov. So there was a bar called Dovlatov, right? I guess it makes sense. And that bar happened to be in an apartment that had a back door, and the back door would lead you to this courtyard. I swear it's the smallest well-shaped courtyard in St. Petersburg. And it's really of this size. It's very small. You can see it's just it's like six windows, and that's it. And just imagine the view from the windows in this apartment, and especially the one that faces just the wall, not even another window. So yeah, and you know what? Why they did that? So courtyards could be of different size, but obviously the more apartments you build, the more money you get from the tenants. So there were rules with regards to how these residential buildings had to be built, right? This is the sofa that they have exactly. So they kind of had the at some point they put the glass ceiling and they turned it like into an um like a room with a glass ceiling so we could see the courtyard and the sky above us. So I was sitting on the sofa and I was looking at the glass ceiling and took photographs. So, so the rule said that, okay, every tenant house had to have a courtyard for people to walk in, to have some fresh air, blah, blah, blah. But they never really stipulated how big or small it had to be. So obviously, like we know, right? Now, well, you've seen also the exterior, right? You've seen the facade, right? The beautiful cordonner, but the other side, the backside didn't have to be beautiful. So they would be normally just of a yellow color. The probably some of the ugliest shades of it. And that's it. And where are we now? So we are inside we are in the lobby. And obviously the lobby doesn't look as chic as it used to back in the day. So main entrances would be also beautiful. We know how gorgeous St. Petersburg lobbies can get, but after the revolution, all of it was forgotten. A lot of it was destroyed or just painted over. And all those apartments would be turned into communal ones. For many of you, it's already a well-known information, but we always have someone new on the tour. So I'm trying to fill everyone in. I just want all of us to be updated equally. And that's why we're going to have a Q&A in the end as well. And I will be happy to answer your questions if you have them. So, and it's also being recorded. Some of my Israeli viewers will not be able to join me, so I'm recording it, and just so you would know, I'm thinking of all of you. And also some others will not be able to join, so I will be sending the recordings and I will be sharing the recordings on my YouTube channel as usual. Yeah, and Dovlatov lived in the communal apartment too. That's the stove in the lobby, and the communal apartments in most cases look ugly. Beautiful, but ugly. Why beautiful? Because there are like 68,000 people that are still living in the communal apartments in St. Petersburg in the 21st century, in the second biggest city in Russia, right? Still. And beautiful because those apartments have not really had major renovations, and most of them have preserved a lot of original details from the time those houses were built. But it's ugly, and I'm pausing here so you could also read the little quote from one of the books that Dovlatov wrote, his memories on how he lived in the communal apartment. So it's ugly because it was dirty, it was in a horrible condition, never renovated, and very different people lived in one and the same apartment. So each room would be given to a separate family. Even if there were two kids and two parents, well, they still would need to share one room, and there would be one toilet, one kitchen, and you'll see the rest. And one toilet, and the toilets are, okay, I'm going to show you the toilet. You should be ready for it. Like you should. Absolutely. Have a look at that. Huh? Have a look at that. That's what the communal apartments are. Well, yeah. And several years ago, actually, right before the pandemic hit, I think it was like 2021 or something. So the people who live in this apartment, they decided to open a museum of Sergei Dovlatov. And also, they decided to open the doors of their communal apartment so people could see the vibe, could see like what it's like. So it's kind of both. It's a museum of the communal living, but it's also a museum of Dovlatov, and it's all together. And Dovlatov and communal apartments are inseparable, and they're a big part of St. Petersburg and what St. Petersburg and Leningrad, especially, that's the Soviet name of St. Petersburg, right? So that was they were inseparable, and I'm just happy that there is such a place. I'm truly happy, and I was able to visit it at the early stage when there was just I would say a few months after they opened. It's one thing, and then Oleg filmed what I was not able to film. So it's kind of a combination of video I took, photos I took, and also what Oleg filmed for us. And yeah, some more from Sergei Dovlatov. So the book is called Hours. Most of his books were translated into English and during his lifetime. Highly recommend to read it. It's a very good read. It's very well translated. The wording is really good. Anyway, so our apartment was hardly typical. It was inhabited mostly by intellectuals. There were no fights. No one spat into anyone else's soup, though one cannot swear to it. Yeah, I mean, Misha, my husband, did a tour on the communal living some half a year ago, and he spoke of how challenging life with people of different walks of life could be. The lot of himself, for many reasons, was um, what do they call it? Was expelled from the university that he studied, and he was sent to serve in the army in the outskirts of the Soviet Union, where a lot of prisons used to be, and he dealt with prisoners a lot. And then he wrote a book called Zona, and it's was kind of a handbook on survival on the one hand, but it was also one of well, like books, kind of a breakthrough. It didn't feel like a breakthrough back then because unfortunately he only became famous when he left Russia. But from after that, if you go like if you look back, that book and that experience living in the Far East and dealing with murderers, rapists, and people of well the similar background, that's changed him and gave him endless experience, knowledge, and inspiration to write about the human soul and all these things. So really interesting. So this is the apartment. That's what it looks now. Um, and yeah, a lot of these things I can recognize, such as these bookshelves used to be in every Soviet apartment. My family also had the same bookshelves. However, I had no idea you could actually put them vertical. That's quite ingenious. That looks really avant-garde to me. I never realized that. So obviously, there are really very few memorial items, unfortunately, of Davlatov because he just left with his things and other people moved in. But this is kind of a museum of the epoch, right? It just tells you what it was like, what the household was like, what kind of items surround people living in those times, and that's lovely. So well, and also well, the stove, for example, is the original Finnish stove, and there and that's why these communal apartments are so amazing because they have all those all those beautiful decorations. Okay, not all, but many of them. Doors, doorknobs, um, doorbells, or the actually um, Medlach tile, by the way. So this is just one tile, Medlach tile that was found in the house. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they were going to do with it, but they also have all these items, some old mirrors, some old furniture, stoves. That's the mirror. Clearly, 19th century mirror, you see how kind of foggy it is. That's because 19th century mirrors were foggy. And well, you may have noticed there was a typewriting machine on the monument, and he had this Underwood brand typewriter machine with him was his favorite. Here we have the copy, and this is the photo I took during the pandemic because you see the Lenin head wearing a mask. Yes, not much really has changed. They just rearranged some rooms, but the items are still the same. Oh, this is interesting. So, for example, this is the piece of a glass brick. The glass bricks were widely used in the end of the 19th century, and since there was not enough daylight and electricity was pretty expensive and not accessible in many apartments yet, to add some more daylight into, let's say, bathrooms, toilets, they would be using these glass bricks. So they would have like windows that would just the part of the section of the walls would be made of glass bricks. It's like small windows. They would be placed high, so no one could see anyone. And they would just add the daylight. It would come in, let's say, to the kitchen, to the bathroom or toilet, and that saved a lot of, well, that gave a lot of light, and it saved some money as well. So, and it's French, by the way. I think it was French technology, and then, well, this technology was brought to Russia, and this is when this glass brick was made, and some other items that you may recognize yourself, and all newspapers, of course. The wallpapers would be stuck on the wall, would be glued to the wall well, first there would be newspapers placed because it just people believe that if you put the newspaper and then on top of it you will stick the wallpaper, they will um kind of they would just better stick to the wall. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the trick was, but that's how we keep finding a lot of news of the world from the 19th century like this. When in St. Petersburg we do the redecoration of the apartments. That's true. And all these items were brought by the locals, were brought uh, by friends of Dovlatov and Dovlatov family. Well, it's not his bed, but it's the similar bed that's every in in the Soviet time there was not really a variety. People would have similar things like mass-produced beds, blankets. Like I know one of the symbols of Soviet childhood would be the blue and white blanket, like in squares, and every child in the Soviet Union had it. Every child. Girls would have pink and white, and boys would have blue and white, and everyone had it. So it's everybody's childhood. It's one of the earliest memories of me being wrapped up in that blanket. So people had same thing. So it's totally fine. Look, like I mean, look at it's again another bed, same bed, a lot of identical things, and also well, this is the room they opened about a year ago. So Oleg went there and filmed. So they have some furniture from the late 19th century, and that's exactly how it would be. So in many of those apartments, they would not really be using Soviet furniture. They would be using some Soviet things, but there's still a lot that survived the previous times, and they it would be used. And some apartments still have it. Some apartments still have the Zinger sewing machine. So this is the case of the Zinger sewing machine, for example. They have old arm chairs, some old cupboard, and also a lot of photographs, just random photographs. In fact, they have nothing to do with Dovlatov. It's just the to add the kind of the symbols of the times, like this. Uh, in many ways, the communal apartments are now seen as the time machines, the time capsules, and a way how the past has been preserved in them. And this is true. I mean, I honestly, it's really tough to live in communal apartments. I have no idea how people do that, but some people do, and they don't really have much choice. But well, maybe as an experience to live for day there could be fun, but not on a daily basis, that's for sure. Okay, so let's leave the glorious communal apartment of Sergei Dovlatov and focus on something else. Well, look at this building, another gorgeous end of the 19th century eclectic building. Well, so remember what it looked like, right? The wooden barracks, and then this. So Rubenstein Street was an important location. I have been able to find. I read memoirs of Dovlatov and several other people who lived in the street. There were a lot of actually Russian celebrities, Soviet celebrities that lived in the street. Obviously, it wasn't called Rubenstein Street at that point, but nevertheless. So and well, many people would be remembering a lady who had two big dogs, which was a rare thing for some reason. So when I found the photographs of this woman, I had no idea who she was, but she had two big dogs and she was standing on the balcony with that dog. So it's nice. I mean, I didn't do much of the research, but yes, it's the same balcony and the same dogs that everyone was talking about. So that's 1950s. I think this is when this photo was taken, 1950s, 1960s. And well, again, on the ground floor, there would be businesses, hotels. Well, there's a hot yoga room, and I even know a girl that runs those yoga sessions. She's a big blogger, actually. She has like a million followers worldwide. So I've always wanted to go there, and I wish I uh, had gone to her yoga classes because because it's located in this house, they have a beautiful lobby. I mean, it's not as gorgeous as some we have seen, but at least it's a lobby and it's normally not open to public. Oleg was just able to get in, and well, yeah. Anyway, not all the buildings still look, I would say, um, prepped up. Well, they just need some cleaning. Some buildings do need restoration, but in a nutshell, the street is okay. Not the backyards, but the facades. Well, it could have been worse. And yes, so some of this building, well, you can even just you do some window frames reading. If you see wooden, old, with paint chipping off windows, you could, well, let's say with 97% probability, just guess it right that it's a communal apartment. Yeah, those are communal apartments. Rubenstein Street, nearly every building, nearly every residential building has a communal apartment. Yeah, at least several. Actually, in this case, a lot. So, and in the street, indeed, in 1887 to 1891, lived the pianist and composer and the founder of St. Petersburg Conservatory, Anton Rubinstein. Well, actually, there were two Rubinstein. There were two brothers, both musical prodigies, and both of them um, contributed to the establishment of the higher musical education in Russia. So Anton established St. Petersburg Conservatory, and his brother established the conservatory in Moscow. So these are the two brothers, and yes, they were Jews, but they converted actually their parents converted to Christianity because if you remember my tours, and if you don't remember them, well, I've done tons of tours on the Jewish heritage in the Russian Empire and the Soviet Union, and well, the issue was if you were a Jew, but if you converted to any Christian faith, well, you were no longer you. well, you no longer had to live in the Pale of Settlement, and all those multiple restrictions that were imposed on Jews would not apply to you. You only had to convert. So no wonder many Jewish families converted and felt okay. So Rubinstein were like that. This is the Moscow Conservatory, and Anton Rubinstein, another interesting connection and link to Tbilisi, where I currently am, is that Anton Rubinstein was invited several times to play to perform in Tbilisi. He was a star, like world class, world level star in music, and he was invited several times. And in Tbilisi, they were talking a lot about the establishment of the high musical education. And after one of the shows, Rubenstein, they were like standing ovations. He had to play encore like 5 times. So all the money, all the proceeds from the concert, eventually he donated to the city of Tbilisi to build the conservatory. So no wonder later on, if you see in the building, there is a sculpture to the left in the corner. This is Anton Rubinstein. I wish I had a better photograph. I couldn't find it on my phone. I'm sure I have it, but next time we are in that area, and I am planning to take you to that neighborhood because there is still a lot that we have not seen. Nevertheless, so some photographs from the conservatory. You can enter the concert hall of the conservatory, but most of the classes and the interiors are not accessible to you unless you are a student. But that's the sculpture, that's the monument to Anton Rubinstein. Yes, who is believed to have been one of the people thanks to whom it was established, right? Because of all the money. So yeah, we can say that the Rubinstein brothers are the founders of the higher musical education in Russia. Yeah. Another building is not really anything special. It's just a tenant house. Well, no decorations. And again, on its spot used to be a barrack like that. And then it was rebuilt. But why it is interesting? Well, for two things. So basically, we are going like this. Look to the left, look to the right, look to the left, look to the right. And there is an interesting archway, which we, together with you, took several times on my virtual tours. And I want to take you through those archways again. Oleg told me when he filmed it that he got nearly lost. I mean, he's a local. He wasn't born in St. Petersburg, but he's local. But he told me that he just got lost there for some reason, and I don't blame him. And why I wanted him to film it to you, because I wanted you to see how the past is combined here with the now. So you see these white thingies, right, from the two sides, white boxes. These are elevators, because obviously all these tenant houses of the 5 floors, they didn't have elevators that they were built. The first elevators well, appeared okay, like turn of the 20th century, and those there were just several of them. So most of these buildings in the Rubinstein Street, that is, let's say last quarter, 1860s, 1870s, like that, last quarter of the 19th century. And there was no place for elevators within the building. So what they decided to do to put up the elevator, but outside of the building. It's a very common practice. Also, I wanted you to see these interesting windows. Just imagine the view from these windows. Like privacy? What is it? Or like daylight? Never seen. And that's just, I mean, also look at the color of the walls. Like this, I mean, this yellow. Uh, that's why. And again, this is all the area of Dostoevsky as well. So, and that's what I often say to my audience, that no wonder Dostoevsky's works were so depressive, and no wonder that every fifth writer in St. Petersburg had phobias, manias, schizophrenia, or something else. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. My favorite thing, my absolutely favorite thing is the doors, is the apartment numbers. Look at this plate. The first floor has apartment number 9 and then apartment 84. And then second floor 75 and then 86. Well, yeah, I know it feels really weird, but for those of you who have, I mean, okay, look at this corner or the other one as well, like from there. Wow, what a view people have, right? They definitely they don't need even blackout curtains. Like, why would they need them, right? Yeah, so the communal apartments. So there used to be, let's say, 10 apartments in one lobby, 5 floors, 2 apartments on each floor. But then the Bolsheviks came and they decided that there were no longer need for one family to have 5 rooms, and they would make 10 apartments out of one apartment. No, five apartments from one apartment. And then there would be uh 2 multiplied by 5. So just imagine this mathematics, and then the numbers would go like this, you know. So yeah, and let's say if the upper floor had apartment 9 and 10, and then the communal apartments would go back to the first floor, and they would have 11, 12, 13, 14, and like that. Crazy. And this is not one and the same building. Actually, these are 3 different buildings, and they are placed one next to another. And you see there is like no space between them, like literally. This is how expensive the land was, and this is how everyone wanted to build as much as possible, to use as much land as possible. And this is the same courtyard, the same kids' playground we also walked past multiple times on my tours. But I still remember this is a bar tour. I mean, it's a bar street, and we did some bar hopping. So one of my most favorite places in the entire city was actually the eatery at Larissa's Eatery. And if you look at this picture to the right, in the right hand corner, you see the yellow sign. Well, this is actually the Larissa's Diner, Larissa's Eatery. That's me. And this is the place where we went for chebureki, and also we went for some infused vodkas. And if you've noticed, if you look at the logo, so there is this lady with a white cap. So this is exactly how in the Soviet times the waitresses, or the ladies that serve food, uh, they always had to wear this cap. It was a part of the uniform. So Larissa also has it. I was wondering, I didn't know for a while if Larissa actually existed. No, it was just kind of an image. Well, this could have been the inspiration for Larissa, right? Easily. This is the photo taken in the 1970s in one of the um, canteens in the Soviet Union. Yeah, you see? So easy, absolutely. And they had amazing Uzbek food there. Like this is manti, the Uzbek pelmeni, right? Dumpling, right? And also the chebureks, with the chebureks deep fried uh, pies with the minced meat and herbs. Oh my goodness. Yeah, not healthy, but delicious. And the plates. So the chebureks. I mean, I'm a big fan of chebureks. I guess one could tell, right? Oscar loved them too. That's Misha. Misha loved them too. We miss Larissa a lot. And I'm also getting hungry, and they would serve it with the infused vodkas. So I would often go with for the cranberry infused vodka. And I think me and Oscar, we actually had it on tour together with you. Oscar enjoyed some beef chebureks too. And and after that, I think we barely made it home because we were just really super full and a little bit drunk as well. And so those were really special tours. Those were like the tours I felt like I was touring with you. I think I was really actually walking with you, like taking my friends to to my favorite places, really authentic, not a tourist is saying no. So, and we are in the very end of the Rubinstein Street. This is it. This is the end of it. And what we see here is the famous five corner square. And it's a big landmark. It's a symbol of one of the symbols of St. Petersburg. It just chaotically happened that in this area, several streets converge, like five streets converge. Normally, it should be a crossroad with four streets, but the city was built in this area so chaotically. So you can see from here, from this old um, pre-revolutionary city plan, you see that, yeah, five streets actually converge here. And I think it's beautiful. I love it. And this is also some another city plan. Anyway, well, the building that I showed you in the beginning of the tour, the building that um, I would say catches your eye and probably never lets you go. At least for me, I really, really miss this house. It's one of the most beautiful houses in St. Petersburg, to my mind. That actually is a corner building, and it's a remarkable building constructed to a commission of a Russian merchant who was actually a Jew. Yoffe was his name. And it was commissioned to a Jewish architect, Alexander Lishnevsky, uh, who built quite a lot in Ukraine, in Russia proper, I mean, in the Russian Empire, and he was one of well, every architect would have their own feature, like something like some trademark, like something that would just make them stand out and be remembered by the clients or whatever, whoever. So Lishnevsky was very good with towers. And well, because he was a Jew, he was given commission to build several synagogues. This is one of the synagogues in Ukraine. And well, this is one of the houses he built in St. Petersburg. You see, again, the tower, just, well, he was very good at it, right? Very good. So, and he liked to put different towers on his buildings. Their buildings always had towers, always, in this or that way, or domes, or something like that. So he just aimed high, literally, I would say. However, so the area of five corners didn't always have the Yoffe House because Yoffe House was built by 1913 or 1914 only. And before that, there used to be another corner building, very simple one, very unassuming. And I had some photographs of the times when the building was taken down. Just when the land was being prepared for the construction of the Yoffe House. Yoffe House is famous for its tower, but just believe it or not, but in this house there were six apartments. Six. It's a huge building, right? It's a huge house with only originally six apartments, which meant that for this business project or this investment project to be feasible, these apartments must have cost a lot. And it was okay. It would have definitely paid off, but the problem is that it was finished in 1914, 1913, and they didn't really have much time. So it never really paid off. And later on, it would become, again, the national property, and the apartments would become communal apartments. And my tourists would often ask me, okay, what's in the tower? Well, in the tower, there is a studio of an artist, and well, we all know who this artist is, and I'm even sharing here he's a photographer. Well, Sergei Somkin. He's actually a very good photographer, and he also does a lot of uh, arts with his photographs. Like he's really creative, very popular actually, and no wonder. No wonder. And that's his tower. He has a studio there, and he also houses different exhibitions of his colleagues. I guess this is just what also keeps everything afloat as well. And he is one of the people who made the locals agree uh, to let tourists in this house. Well, this house has a very special courtyard, a cat courtyard. Let me see if you see a cat here. That's the Rorschach test. What do you see here? Do you see rivers of blood? Or you see a cat? Do you see a cat head? I can see the cat head. So this is the cat courtyard. And also, well, there's not so much from the, let's say, from the point of view of decoration of the house, of the lobby, but he ever, well, once a month, as far as I understand, well, at least he used to let people into his tower. I guess he had to coordinate it with everyone who lives in the house. And well, also I went. I didn't go to the tower. I just went on a tour for done by my colleagues during the pandemic, right? Colleagues supporting colleagues, and I just took some photographs. Like I mean, this staircase is incredible, and this metal thing is actually the shaft of the elevator. There was plates for the elevator. They well, and originally there was an elevator. The house was built like it had everything like absolutely top notch. The house had everything, electricity, elevator, everything. And that's Misha and me. I assume it was after one of the bar hops that we had because I looked very happy and most probably a little bit tipsy as well. It may be just Oscar was just took a photo of us. So it's an iconic place. A lot of people take photographs there. A lot of tourists come to see specifically this house. And also, I have a video of a roof tour in that area. So the photographs that I'm sharing from one of the tours that I did. And it's a coincidence, but in the Offa House, which belonged to a Jewish merchant and was built by a Jewish architect, I think there just had to be an Israeli eatery, Bekitzer. So it's kind of fast food. So Bekitzer means fast, right? In the fast mode. So there is an Israeli uh, kind of eatery food place, and it used to be one of my favorite eateries in St. Petersburg as well. I think Chubureki place, Larissa Chubureki was still number one, and that was number two. And then Orthodox Bar. So, and it's good to know that the place is still operating, and well, it has just serves the traditional, I would say, Israeli food. The shashukas used to be really good, like really good. And you could buy matzot there. You could buy some Israeli food as well, but not on a like I would say not on a massive scale, but just something very local. And I just wanted to show you this. And they also have very good baba ganoush and the forshmak. Some kind of Ashkenazi food because, well, Jews in the Russian Empire were Ashkenazi, and there's lot of connections with Ashkenazi Jews with St. Petersburg, even though it was outside of the pales of settlement, obviously, but with the lifting of some of the restrictions at the turn of the 20th century, uh, many Jews were allowed to come to St. Petersburg and study, live, and everything, work, of course. So, hi to those who joined us as the tour was going, and I didn't have a chance to say hi. Hi, Maria, Mark, Helen. Hi, Helena. So Janet. I think. Well, Ronnie and Sharon, you've been here. Lipson too, you've been here too. So yeah, this is it. And let me turn the chat back on. Yeah, it's on. Very good. You couldn't see the cat's head. Okay, so let me show it to you again. Yeah, it's like a Rorschach test, I guess. So let me break it down to you. Okay, give me a second. Where is that? Where is that? Where is that? Da, 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 da. Okay, so I don't have a pointer here, but if you look at the upper section, it looks like ears of a cat. You could just put in the middle, you could just put two circles like eyes, and you would see the, do you see the ears? So Janet saw the cat. So it's a cat head, just a head. Well, yeah, now you can see it. So yeah, they say it's a cat head. Yeah. So they say it's a cat courtyard, which is fine. I like it. I like it. We have a, well, see, cats are one of the symbols of St. Petersburg anyway. They helped save Leningrad, well, from rats, because they hunted the rats that wanted to eat the scarce food reserves during the siege, and many other things. You know, also in the 18th century during the reign of Catherine the Great, they were sent about uh, several couple of hundreds of cats that also just were let go in the streets to help fight mice and rats, yeah, and many other things. So let me share with you. So for those who joined us a little later, I'm not sure you have access to the previous messages. So what I was going to say that after 1 hour break, I will be doing 3 tours back to back, which I know is not the most convenient thing to do, but I had to change my schedule a little bit because tomorrow I will be attending a tour. I'll be a tourist tomorrow. And those are going to be tours of the Jewish heritage sites in Georgia. It's going to be a full day tour, a lot of traveling. And I didn't want to cancel any tours, so I just played around a little bit. And what is going to happen tonight is that I'm doing 3 more tours back to back. It's going to be the first tour, by the way, in 1 hour from now is going to be about Russian pre-revolutionary and also Soviet literature. That's going to be on Maxim Gorky, a very interesting character. He was just a very good writer, but he was also a very good diplomat. And it's amazing how he managed to stay afloat and actually help both camps. Like he clearly officially supported the Bolshevik regime, the party. However, he also had a lot of connections with the, well, opposition is not really the word here, but let's say with the former aristocracy, and clearly the, well, those who didn't comply with with the requirements, right? But he managed to help a lot of talented people. Some people managed to leave Bolsheviks, leave from the Bolsheviks control, and that's how they saved their lives. So he saved their lives. He also helped nourish some young rising talents too. Well, just an interesting character, very interesting character. Then I'm taking you to the neighborhood of Dostoevsky Times, and actually that's the neighborhood. And this is the street that starts with the Yoffe house. So where we just ended, we're going to pick up from there. And yes, that area happens to be from the times of Dostoevsky, and we are actually going to drop by an interesting apartment of Rimsky-Korsakov, of Nikolai Rimsky-Korsakov, the Russian composer, one of the biggest composers of the 20th century. Yeah, because he lived on that avenue. And then I'm taking you to the Anichkov Palace to talk about the family life of the Romanovs. Tomorrow, I'm taking you to the gorgeous building of Tbilisi Academy of Fine Arts, which used to be a house of a merchant, Arshakuni. That's tomorrow. And the first episode of the Armenian Heritage History Museum in Jerusalem. Some tours, sorry, I just for some reason doubled the messages, but you have all of them. So were the Rubensteins related to? No, they were not. No, Ronja, they were not related to Helena Rubinstein. Rubinstein was a very widespread last name. No, they were not related. Um, no. Helena Rubinstein, however, had very strong connections with the Russian Empire and Georgia too. Her husband was a Georgian. I did tell you the story of um, uh, of their love affair. It was one of the tours on the for the 14th of February, some time ago. I don't remember anymore. So this is basically it. Thank you so much for joining me, and I am going to share the links to support me. If you wish to buy me a coffee or send me a PayPal donation to thank me for the tour, I would appreciate that. Also, on my YouTube channel, you can find the recordings as of the previous weekend, and I will be sharing this tour recording as well. Um, no, Sean, they're not related. No, it is just a very widespread last name. Now, I know some Rubensteins too, and then also not related. Some Rubensteins that live in St. Petersburg, some Rubensteins that live in Israel. No, they also not related. It's just I never really studied why this last name is so big. Well, but no, not. Yes. Yeah. So this is it. And for my sponsors, this is a shout out to my sponsors. I haven't done a get together for a while now, but I'm hoping to do that in March when I have some more information because there are some changes. There's going to be some changes with regards to everything that we're doing, but I will keep you posted on that. So just saying, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. I will see you in 1 hour from now for 3 tours back to back. I am sorry, but yeah, well, thank you. Bye bye.